Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Crypto Analyst here, and welcome back to another cryptocurrency video. And today I just wanted to take a second and talk about the state of Bitcoin, because there seems to be two very different and contradicting views floating around right now, talking about where Bitcoin's going to go from here. Now, the first one is talking about how this price range on Bitcoin is a danger zone and how you should be really preparing to short or exit out of most of your Bitcoin positions. And then, of course, the second one being that you should be buying the dip on Bitcoin below $9,000, and you would be a fool not to. And there's really not too much area in between, at least from what I've seen. Again, I'm not saying that this is what I think, but this is the two major views that I have seen all over the internet right now. So what I wanted to do is explain why people are talking about both of these views, and then talk about which one I think is more probable, and really what I think is going to happen on Bitcoin over the next couple of months here. Now, we're going to be looking at the candle charts, some indicators, oscillators, basic pattern formations, and of course the volume itself, taking into account some moving averages on top of all of that. So if that interests you guys, go ahead and stick around for the video, but I'm going to go ahead and start breaking this down on a 4-hour time scale, and then we're going to move into the 1 day after that. So immediately, first things first, guys, Bitcoin fell out of this channel. This is an absolutely phenomenal and beautiful uptrend that we've had really since the very midterm section of December of last year. Now, this went all the way up until when we really kind of broke down out of this at the end of February, and we definitely have rejected this area and fallen below. Now, with us falling below, we have a death cross actually happening on the 4-hour time scale. If you guys don't know what a death cross is, this is simply just the 50 EMA moving downwards below the 200 EMA. The vice versa of this is a golden cross, which is really what started this entire upwards motion. Now we have a death cross, which is signaling that things might be getting a little bit more bearish. But in a bull market, this could possibly represent a buy the dip opportunity on Bitcoin, and I want to kind of explain that as well. But with the death cross happening and us falling out of this, there's definitely some room for retracement. We don't have any support, any considerable support, I would say, until the upper 7,000s. Then I think you're actually going to get a lot, because what this actually represents for us is this previous bottom over in here was the previous topping area over in here. So what was formerly support now turned resistance, now turns back into support. And if Bitcoin actually comes back down here, and I want to highlight this because this is a very, very important point. If Bitcoin comes down in here and uses this as support again, what we would be doing, and it comes down here and bounces, what we would do is set up a beautiful inverse head and shoulders on the macro chart of Bitcoin here. So if we want to grab a head and shoulders tool, what we can see is that it would look something along the lines of this. And we would have an inverse head and shoulders on Bitcoin. Now, again, I just mock drew that up, so it's not quite as clean as I would like it to be. But the overall picture here is that Bitcoin would very well be painting an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are going to say. A lot of you guys are saying, that's not possible. This is a bottoming formation, and for it to be happening up here instead of down here, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I would, again, disagree with that. I would say that this is the bottoming formation, and this would be a continuation in the uptrend afterwards, definitely moving back up to at least 12K from a measured move, if this is the case, arguably even higher than that. So the macro channel of Bitcoin here, while it is short-term bearish from looking at where we are right now, again, the 4-hour death cross falling out of this channel, I think that the overall potential for Bitcoin here is still bullish. And I really don't expect it to break below like $6,000. If it does, it's going to get very ugly very fast. But it's not something that I'm expecting it to do. I think a perfect scenario for Bitcoin is to reject off of this. And there's really two. One, if it holds right here, it's technically a higher swing low than where it previously was, and it could very well continue heading upwards over here. I would like to see it come down just a little bit more, kind of confirm this inverse head and shoulders and bounce off of here, because if we get an inverse head and shoulders again, I think it's just going to be a beautifully bullish thing. We're going to get that golden cross back on this 4-hour time scale, and it's going to help with a lot of the problems that we are having in its current state. Right now, it's not too bad. We can definitely see that we're bouncing off of this zone. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on. I want to talk about the indicators like the RSI and the MACD and a little bit of the volume. We can see that the volume is falling off. Nothing too significant, nothing really to note there. And what we would do actually, if we were to paint this inverse head and shoulders theory, is that this would actually come back down into this oversold territory, set a higher swing low, and then this would rocket back into the overbought territory. And now again, when I say overbought and oversold, I don't mean quite literally it's oversold, so you have to, this is the perfect buying opportunity. These are just labels for where this is in point of reference to the relative strength index. Over here on the MACD, nothing really significant for the most part, pointing upwards on its oscillators, and again, no real kind of bullish divergence or bearish divergence really in any way. I think the biggest one is the potential over here to set a lower swing high and absolutely rocket from there, and that would just really fulfill the inverse head and shoulders theory. Now moving this over to a one-day time scale, I want to talk a little bit more macro on Bitcoin. Talking about this bearish momentum on the MACD, you can see that it definitely looks like it's starting to dry up or starting to wear out. Not to say that it can't come back down over here. It could very well, and again, fulfill the head and shoulders theory, is that this would come up, go bullish, set a lower swing high, and then be very, very bullish, or even triple bullish divergence of something like that. So we would have, 1, 2, and 3 potentially higher swing lows, and then set up a beautiful bullish case scenario for Bitcoin. Over here on the RSI, very same scenario. This thing could be coming down, and I want to talk about this because right now we have 1, 2, 3. So long as this thing bounces off of here, above this previous point or around this previous point, excuse me, it would be a continually bullish thing for Bitcoin, because too many people in this situation right now, they're too bearish for what Bitcoin's at. And while it does look pretty bearish on the micro, the macro of this, again, it still looks phenomenal, and I want to zoom out and kind of just talk about that. If this does set up, and right now it's even holding the 200 EMA on the one-day time scale, so bouncing absolutely beautifully off of that area. Now, if Bitcoin breaks this area, it's coming down to probably into the 5,000s, I would believe, mid 5,000s for sure. There's just really not too much room, but so long as it holds this head and shoulders, I think that's really the most bullish argument that someone can have on Bitcoin right now, and kind of one of the key things that I wanted to highlight in this video. So while while the bears definitely have their grips on this in the short term, I think the overall long term is in the favor of the bulls, as long as this inverse head and shoulders holds, because again, I think that would just be it would just be a very, very beautiful thing to see. And let's actually look at this volume, sorry. Looking at the volume over here, if we can zoom in just a little bit, again, you can see the volume's falling off. For the most part, I don't know if there's too much to really kind of get out of this volume. It's pretty steady. There's nothing just sticking out to me. There's no inclining, there's no declining. It's at a pretty, steady median of just kind of chop, which isn't something that we really see often on Bitcoin. Usually you're able to deduct a decent amount about the price based upon the volume. So what this is telling me is that there isn't anything crazy that's going to happen as of yet. There's no kind of squeeze that I see. Maybe just a slight continuation in this bear trend, or so long as it holds the 200 EMA, maybe it just continues upwards. No death cross on the one-day time scale as well, so that's another really good thing, because that would lead me to be inclined more bearish than I really am. But so long as there's no death cross on this daily time scale, and a lot of these other indicators are looking the way they are, I'm pretty bullish. What I expect Bitcoin to do here is to come down, very well potentially set a new low on Bitcoin, stop somewhere around the upper 7,000s, low 8,000s, and then bounce very, very hard off of that area. Anything below that, I think Bitcoin's heading down to 6,000 flat, maybe even into the 5,000 range. And we'll have to see what it does from there. But again, I really don't expect Bitcoin breaking like the mid 6,500s. So time will tell. Overall, the short term is looking a little bit bearish, but I think the macros of Bitcoin in this price range are still very beautiful, and has a lot of potential that people aren't looking at. Sometimes you just kind of need to zoom out and get the overall big picture of what's happening here before you make too much of the judgments. Also, we've had some massive red candles recently on Bitcoin, so maybe this actually does look a little bit better just looking at the volume. So that is my thoughts on Bitcoin in its current state, guys. Hopefully this was able to help you, as there is a lot of back and forth in the crypto community right now. people want to be bearish so that they can accumulate more, and people want to be bullish because they want to make money on their investment already. So I totally understand both sides. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask those in the comment section down below, and I would love to be able to get back to you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next video.